guys, I hope you're having a great week. So in this video, I thought I would share a few different ways of how I make my bows for my wreaths and just different projects that I do. I actually had a request for this, but it's something I've been thinking about doing anyway. I just haven't gotten to it, but with Christmas coming up rather quickly, I thought now would be the perfect time. So that's what I'm sharing in this video. Let's get started. For my first bow, I'm just making a simple bow and I'm using 5/8 inch ribbon, and I actually purchased this ribbon at Dollar Tree. It's actually double-sided, but you can use whatever ribbon you want, whatever size. This is just a simple bow. So I'm just going to make a loop on this side, go around, and then I want my print to be the same on this side, so I'm tucking it through the front of my loop like this. And basically it's kind of like tying your shoelaces. And this is just a really simple way to add something extra to an ornament. This is the way that I made my bows in my last video, where I did several different ornaments and Christmas projects, and then you just cut the ends however you would like. I'll just angle these, and that is my first bow. Is just a really simple tied bow. And I'll do the same thing with 2-inch wired ribbon. This is buffalo check, and I got this one at Walmart, and I'm just going to do the same thing so that you can see it on a larger scale. I'm just making a loop like this. This is also double-sided. Wrap it around and tuck it through the front. And then pull. And you just have to kind of work with it. But just a simple single loop bow. And then I'll do the same thing and just angle the ends. And what's nice about using different sizes is you could actually layer these. You could either tie it together, or you could just add a little bit of hot glue, and you've just dressed up your bow even more for your project. Now the next bow I'm going to work on is a fancier bow. This is actually one that I learned how to make when I worked for a florist years ago. And there are different ways to do this, but this is how I learned, so that's what I'm going to show you. And I'm just going to use the buffalo check ribbon again. And you want to start by just folding it over, and this is going to be the center of your bow. So you just make it however big you would like your loops. If you want smaller loops for a smaller sized bow, remember this is half of the bow, then you would make it a little bit smaller. If you want a large bow, then you would make your loop bigger. So I'm just gonna go small for purposes of being able to fit in the screenshot of my video. So I'm just going to loop this one, and I'm going to flip it over so that my end is on the bottom. This will be my top, or the end up the center of my bow. And I'm just going to continue looping. And you just want to make sure you are making them pretty much the same size as you go along. Now, since my ribbon is the same on both sides, I don't have to twist it. If my ribbon had a different pattern on the other side, I would simply twist and then loop. But since it's the same on both sides, I don't have to do that step. So I'm just going to continue making loops and gathering it in the center. And I think I'll just do 4 on each side. You can of course do as many as you want depending on the size of the bow that you want. And now I have my 4 loops on both sides, and I want a tail end, so I'm just gonna make a large loop, and this will actually be the tails of my bow. So I'm gathering it in the center as well, and this is the end of my ribbon right here, so I will cut that off. And you can see I have everything held together with my fingers, and this is where my ribbon will be tied together. You can use string or you can use paddle wire, and I'm using 22 gauge paddle wire. That is what I'm gonna use to hold my bow together. So I'm just gonna take off a pretty good length of that. And I'm gonna work around my center of my bow. Just make sure everything is together. And then I'm gonna grab my wire around the center where I'm holding it with my fingers and just pull this snug and twist. And you wanna get this tight, but you don't wanna get it so tight that you break your wire. And I'm just using some little jewelry pliers, needle nose pliers. And you can actually leave this wire on if you want to attach it to a wreath or something with your wire, but if you plan on hot gluing it, you can just simply snip that off like that. And then I fold it over. And you can see I have my ends. These are the ends of my ribbon, so I'm just going to cut that. And now you can just fluff up your bow. You just mess with them and twist them around and get them where you want them. And you can also make several of these. You can layer them. You can put more than one together if you want a really fluffy bow. And like I said, you can make as many loops as you want. And then I would just hot glue this onto a wreath or a project that I'm working on. And so that is my next bow. And I wanted to include an example using 2 different ribbons for this same style of bow. Here I used 2 ribbons and I did 3 loops on each side, so I ended up with a total of 12 loops for this bow. So I just wanted to share that you can make this bow with different ribbons in multiple ways. And for the last bow that I'm going to share, this one's probably a little bit more simple, and I'm going to use 3 different ribbons. I have this gold mesh ribbon and this Merry Christmas vintage truck ribbon, and then also this gold and silver mesh ribbon. So pretty. And you wouldn't have to use 3 different types of ribbon. You could use 2, you could use 1 ribbon, you could use a whole lot more if you wanted to. But basically you just cut the ribbon at similar lengths, however many loops you want. In this case, I chose to use 2 of each of the ribbon for a total of 6. So that is what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting them all basically to the same size, and then I will angle the ends of my ribbon and get ready to make my bow. And to give my bow a pretty finish on the ends, I'm just cutting each end of the ribbon with a notch. You could angle them if you wanted to, but I chose to just notch each end. You could do it the way I did it there by cutting out a V shape, or you can fold the ribbon in half like I'm doing here and just cut it at an angle. To start assembling my bow, I just take one piece of the ribbon that I have cut, fold it over, make a loop, and as you can see, the ends do not match up. One end is shorter than the other. That's what I want. And I will continue to do this with each piece of ribbon, holding it in my hand as I go along to create my bow. To secure my bow together, I'm using a piece of wire. You could also use string if you would like, but I'm just going to wrap it around where I'm holding all of the ribbon together and get it tight. And like I said before, if you use wire and add some extra length like you can see here, then you can definitely leave it attached and use that to attach it to your wreath or maybe a project. I'm just going to snip it off and fold my wire end over, and I can use hot glue at a later time. And now it's time to fluff up my bow. And this is probably one of my favorite bows to make if I'm using different types of ribbon or different prints. I just love how they each stand out, and it gives such a fun decorative touch to just about anything. And you can certainly adjust this to whatever size you want by adding more loops or longer length so that you have longer ends to work with. I just love this one. I think it turned out so pretty. If you're new to my channel, I share a lot of budget-friendly DIY, home, and lifestyle content, and if you like that sort of thing, I would love it if you hit subscribe and hung around. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, a like, a comment to let me know. I'd really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.